if you're starting out, it's perfectly normal to not see the fruits of your labor, right? And I'm gonna share, like I said, light on what you can expect in the first several months or even weeks, right? Depending on what you're doing in what industry, and I want to really help you understand why you should continue the things that you're doing, even if you're not seeing the results, okay? And I'll tell you why, okay? I see Curtis is jumping in into the Zoom. Awesome. There's about 14 of you that are watching on the streaming, guys. I'm gonna go through the comments. So if you have questions or comments or whatever you want to add, or tell me that you're feeling the same thing, feel free to do that. Just real quick, for those of you that are brand new, I've built 3 agencies before, and one of them being the High Level Marketplace team and the agency there with Rob and Alex. Long story short, we've done things the hard way. We've learned things the wrong way. We invested tons of money learning the wrong thing with the wrong people, to do the wrong activities, to struggle for many years to figure out how to get 5 clients. Let's just be real, right? And then we get to a point where you've figured this out and you're like, oh man, this is just a video game of business, right? Sorry, my glasses are all over the place. This is just a video game of business, the video game of life as an entrepreneur. And when you see the rules of the game, you'll start to see how you should play the game and what is the right way to play the game. You're not just throwing the balls around or whatever, in a game, right? So I want to tell you that, I struggled for many, many, many months, and, the first year was brutal. The second year was just as brutal, especially in the first dental agency that I built from 2014 all the way to 16 was a struggle, meaning made less than $40,000 each, to be honest, right? And even that is considered to be success. So a lot of you are maybe even doing worse, right, in the beginning. But I'll tell you this, there is a right way to do this. If I can go back in time, there are certain things that I would do differently, and that's what I want to share with you. So a lot of you that are watching in here, this is not a place where I boast about myself. This is more like I've done the things the wrong way, right? And that, I just want to assure you, everything that I'm sharing is coming from experience. It's coming from pain. It's coming from, things like almost losing your marriage over entrepreneurship, right? Things like pissing off all your families, things like, losing relationships, things like prioritizing, time outside of business that you couldn't because you're so focused, right? All those pains and sacrifices come into a big play, and it's really important that you do the right thing in business, not just any activity, right? So today, as you guys know, February is underway. Can you believe February went by that fast? And by the way, everybody that reached out to me, all 30, 40 of you that DM'd me the last 2 days about all the emails you got about my replay for January, the reason why you got 6 or 7 emails is because I wanted you to jump in on the call, okay? I wanted to get your attention 6, 7 times. No, I'm just kidding. It's because we have multiple profiles for you. You might have signed up for multiple trials. You might have opted into multiple advertisements that we may have had. So we have multiple profiles, even with the same email, right? So our teams are going through merging all those profiles. We have the whole relationship number that we're rolling out. So once those items are kind of consolidated, you won't be getting that many emails from one person. But I appreciate all of you jumping in. This month in February, my intention is to talk about sales process, okay? January, we talked about organic marketing, organic prospecting, everything organic you have to at least have in place as an agency. Some of you are getting started very enthusiastically, which I'm excited about. Some of you are trying 1 or 2 different things. I just want you to do a thing, like do something that's going to get you started, right? And eventually, over time, you'll have all these different machines that are just running and working all together, and things will happen to your side, right? So February is going to be around sales processes. So meaning this whole month, we're going to talk about the different types of way to do sales, what should be expected. We can talk about appointment setters, closers, all these different things. Should you do a two call close? Should you do a demo? What are your offers? Anything that's going to help you close a deal is what I'm focused on sharing with you. And also in the middle of the month, how many of you guys enjoyed last year? I think it was a year ago now. We did the 10 days in 10K workshop. It was probably one of the most powerful workshops that you're going to find in the marketing space. Okay. We did that with Joel.
Killer.
Yeah, there you go, Brad. A ton of you loved it, and thousands of people are watching it. And guess what? It's time for the second one. We're gonna do an event with Rob Bailey. I haven't really told much of anybody else about it. Me and Rob are just working through our lesson plans, our marketing around it. Really figuring out what to deliver. And what we're gonna do is teach you high ticket SaaS. Right? It's going to be exciting. A lot of you don't want to be selling your 297 and this and that, and you don't want to do low ticket. You want to learn how to do SaaS hybrid or even high ticket SaaS. So middle of the month, I believe the 11th, 14th, 15th, and 16th are the dates that we have planned. We'll do another announcement. I'm sure Sean will throw up another loom around the event and things like that, and we'll set up links and all that. But that event's going to also contribute to the monthly theme of sales process. Okay, so just so you guys are aware, every single month we pick a theme and we go through it. So let's start talking about today's topic, which is around mastering the art of sales momentum, right? So like I said earlier on the call as I started, here's what happens. Let's say you started your agency about 6 months back or less, or you started doing sales around your agency in the recent days. Here's usually what happens. You get discouraged usually pretty fast. You start doubting your service and products and businesses, right? You stop committing to an industry. That's usually the first big decision you make because of failure or you just don't see the results, right? Then you start doubting, is this the industry? Is it me? Is it my process? Is it my offer? Everything just goes sideways in a pretty quick manner, to be honest, right? And you start to change remember, this is a science project. This is a video game in my mind, right? But if you start changing variables of the science project, you're not going to get the hypothesis that you're really wanting or looking for, right? So you have independent variables, you have dependent variables, but if you start changing your offers, if you start changing your channels, if you start changing your approaches in certain things, guess what happens? You really won't be able to measure what's actually effective or not, right? You won't be able to figure out if you're doing the right thing, right? So the first thing you got to really know and understand is momentum starts with movement, right? But it won't start really, you won't really see it unless your messaging is clear. That's the first thing you have to really iron out. Your messaging has to be clear. Then it's the client journey, meaning how should they buy from you? How do they want to be sold, right? Is it an intro call? Is it a two call close? Do they prefer to be in front of you as a person? Do they want to be on a Zoom? Is it a phone call? Things of that nature, the mechanics of sales, right? Then it's the sales process, meaning how are you measuring each one of these steps, like understanding if that's an effective way to go about it. Then obviously your offer must be really, really clear. Most marketers, when I ask them about their offers, they usually tell me how they will deliver that offer without telling me the offer. You guys follow me so far?
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, exactly. So if I ask a marketer in most scenarios, what is your offer? They will tell me, they'll have their offer in their mind, but they will tell me how they will deliver the offer. They'll start telling me what they will end up doing for the clients. Well, Paulson, we got this SMS system, then we have Facebook ads, then we have funnels, and then we put all this together, make sure they have leads coming in, and then they make sure we follow up with all these things. They just simply start describing the delivery process of what they will do for the offer. That's a natural tendency, okay? So it's something that you want to really practice not doing, right? And you want to speak to the result of the environment, the actual industry, right? So, for example, if you're going to work with realtors, you need your offer is, you know, 4 houses that you're going to close this month. That's your offer, not how you set up high level, not how you set up Facebook ads to get those deals closed, right? So your offer must be really, really clear. Go ahead, Brad.
So yeah, on that note, then, are you kind of saying that moving forward, you have to have a guarantee?
Not necessarily, right? I'm
Okay.
just saying they need to understand what they're exchanging money for, right? Guarantee is something you set in place to confirm an offer. It's not an offer,
Okay. Thank you.
right? Like if I say, hey, listen, I'll bring you 50 new students for your after school program.
Mhm.
My offer is 50 new students, not the guarantee behind the 50 students. The guarantee is insurance. The guarantee is warranty that you can trust me,
Mhm.
that I won't take advantage of you, right? That extra ledge is to push them over the fence, but that's not an offer. A guarantee is not an offer, right?
Mhm.
Like so you really have to figure out what is your core offer. So what that does, and I ultimately recommend you creating offer language around the result of the industry, right? Versus saying services like SMS. Like that's a mechanism. Like that's like a system, that technology, right? They don't know what SMS will do for them, right? So your offer must be clear. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because it's hard to build momentum when people don't understand your offer or your messaging, right? You have a lot of activities that are happening, but the activities are not efficient because people are not clearly understanding what it is, right? So if you don't have that clarity just yet, it's hard to build momentum properly. So let me go a little further, right? Those of you that are watching on Facebook streaming, let's see. Let me just make sure I'm not seeing any comments that I'm missing. Okay, cool. There are three key elements when it comes to building sales momentum, okay? And I promise you, most of you have the sales skills compared to any elite closer, okay? But most people don't look at this formula, right? They just don't look at it as like a systematic approach to sales, right? So the first element is activities, right? So when we talked about all that organic prospecting and marketing and things like that, that's the first steps to getting the activities going when it comes to volume, right? So you have to have the activities. The second element is the focus, meaning you're going to get distracted. There's going to be mass amounts of distractions left and right. You're going to see other people in the industry. You're going to start seeing other offers. You're going to start seeing other, all kinds of different things when you go into that space. But you have to focus in on what you're bringing to the table and how your prospects are aligning with it. So you do have to focus in all the way through in that industry. And obviously the third one is consistency, right? There's a difference between focus and consistency. Consistency is essentially repetition, right? And why do I say this? Because what actually happens with agencies in the beginning, they don't recognize something called interest cycle, meaning you have interest buyers and active buyers, right? I've shared this before. And interest buyers are people that are just interested in your offer, but they're not ready to actively purchase anything. But they are interested. Like they want to know what it is and things like that. And obviously there's sales cycle and obviously purchase cycle as well. But there's a timeline for these things. An interest cycle, guess what? That's going to be the longest cycle you're going to have in your business when it comes to sales, right? Interest cycle meaning, you know what, Brad? It's good to meet you. I met you last year. I know you do something in marketing. I'll touch base with you when I open my business next year. Well, sheesh, I'm not waiting till 2023 to close you. But guess what? That person genuinely is interested. He's not qualified to be in a sales cycle, right? You cannot give him an offer. There's no point in getting on a demo. He doesn't even have a business yet. And he clearly won't be able to jump into a purchase cycle after a sales presentation. Like, he cannot say, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm going to put my money together and purchase this. Like, he can't do that, right? So somebody like that just stays in that interest cycle, but doesn't mean he's not a lead, right? Doesn't mean that person is not somebody you shouldn't stay in front of, right? So here's what happens. I promise you, it's the craziest thing. I'm telling you, almost every agency that I talk to, the ones that I've built, we all experience this. The first several weeks and even months sometimes, nothing happens. And then one random week, you just close 3 deals. This is usually what happens. Why does this happen? One, there's a sales cycle that's continuously active, right? There's a sales cycle, interest cycle. There's economics that's in play. The market doesn't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you just yet. So it takes them a little bit of time to get used to what you have to bring to the table. And then they will make a decision when they see momentum happening, when they see testimonials or other activities and all these different marketing things you're putting around your offer, right? So usually that's one side of it. The other side of it is, guess what? You as the entrepreneur, you actually start believing, right, in your offers. Because guess what? It's really hard to sell this thing if you don't believe in this thing. I promise you guys. And I know it's a new industry. It's a new offer. High level, you don't know if it's going to work or not. Like, I get it. Okay, I'm in your side, right? But after you talk to maybe like 15, 20, maybe even 30 prospects, guess what happens? You get a little pep in your step. You start feeling confident about how you go through these slides. You start getting natural about what the offer is. You start hearing their feedback about what they think. You get enough no's. Every time I get a no, Curtis, I'll ask them, okay, I just want to know from my own understanding, how can I earn your business? Today it's a no, but how can I earn your business? What do I need to do to earn your business?
That's gold.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm smooth with it, right? So I'm like, yo, how can we do business together? It's not about the money. I just want to have an opportunity that's reasonable, right? And they'll be like, man, Paulson, I see a lot of you marketers. It's just, you guys are everywhere. I get bombarded thousands of times a day, right? And I'll be like, well, people probably want to work with you, right? That's probably what's happening. But the other side of it is, it's hard for marketers to differentiate themselves. Can you tell me what I can do to earn your trust? I don't want to be the regular marketer. What can I do to earn your trust? Do you want me to just get your results first? Like, is that what you want? I'll bring you 5 new clients. Just cover the text, cover the Facebook ads if that's something you want me to do. And I don't need anything. I just want to earn your trust by your phone's ringing, somebody walking in, or whatever else heck result. And that's the way I would present a trial on somebody who says no. I don't ever say, oh, I got this 14-day trial. I'm like, no. I don't ever present it like that, even if it is a 14-day trial, right? So after several weeks of talking about the same thing, you start living in your offer, you start living in your process, and you naturally create like this, I don't know how to say this right, but it's like a weird energy and confidence that just comes into you. And what happens is you start moving through these slides quicker, you're agile with their questions, you start seeing objections before it happens, right? And you get really, really natural at presenting what you have to say. So all of a sudden, guess what happens? People exit out of that interest cycle and naturally move into that sales cycle. Sometimes you don't even know it. Somebody randomly, surprisingly will call you and be like, hey, Jose, I'm ready to start. What? I haven't talked to you in 2 months. Right? But they entered that sales cycle because they felt that confidence with you. Maybe they just weren't ready for the purchase cycle, right? Are you guys following what I'm saying? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's why the popcorn really pops a little later. And quite often it pops all at once, and usually most agencies will have this huge like emergency situation of like, oh crap, I got to onboard 4 people at the same time. How am I going to do that? Then, and what happens is they'll take their focus off of sales for a little bit, and they get drowned in this freaking onboarding that never mattered. Why? Because those people that are onboarding with you are not going to bring you new referrals and clients. You do have to keep focus on the gas pedal of sales. You have to go close more deals to bring in more people to fulfill, not the other way around. You guys following what I'm saying? Get them acquainted. I mean, get them going. Obviously, give them a login and password, right? Like, make sure they can actually jump in. But don't over focus on your clientele as they onboard. Everybody gets the Steve Jobs syndrome of like, amazing product is going to win everything. Well, no, we're a service business, right? Get the onboarding going, started, quick, easy. Make sure it's it's functionable, like, and just get out of the way. Go back and focus on sales. Don't worry about these first batch of people that may cancel out. Why? Because nobody kept their first client. No agency kept their first client, I promise you. Right? So you have to essentially kind of stabilize this onboarding and then focus back in and double down on the sales activities, because guess what? Momentum is on your side by the time this popcorn starts popping. You've got a new energy. You're more excited. You're like, oh crap, this is actually working. Right? I'm officially an entrepreneur. That's literally what you're going to feel, right? So now you can start measuring your processes. Now you can be like, okay, you know what? I have 500 emails that are still being pounded by my VA. I can now put that into an Excel sheet, right? I have this many positive replies that are coming back into my system. This many phone calls are happening. This many people are replying to my text. And you start now focusing on the process and figuring out, okay, these messages work, these don't. This offer is attractive, that one is not. And then you start building this ecosystem of what's working, right? And then guess what happens in like month 4? You have all these good activities that are happening. Momentum is taking place. Onboarding is happening. Then the next thing is social proof, right? You're starting to build out case studies. You start to build out testimonials. And then by then you start running paid ads. I mean, ruthlessly running paid ads. Not just like $2 a day fiddling. It like, you got to go $1,000, right? And when that happens, guess what? You arrive into that market as a disruptor, right? And this is the way you go into it, and then start building a team around it, appointment setters and closers and things like that. But I'm talking about momentum. That momentum that I'm talking about that happens in about 3 months is going to start with you today in continuing the activities when you don't see the results. Because popcorn's going to pop later. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to do, okay? So the first pillar is the activities, right? If you don't have the volume, you don't have this box checked off, right? So what's the right amount of volume, right? And I've already shared this multiple times. What is the right amount of prospecting volume you should have as an agency? Somebody jump in and tell me.
Over 1,000.
Ben says even if you don't have a single case study. Yeah, you don't need a case study to close deals. Who was that? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Who just replied? Right? What's the right volume that you should have for prospecting as an agency? I've shared this multiple times.
Over 1,000.
A day, right?
Right.
That's for how many channels? One channel.
Yep. Or cold email.
That's just cold email, right? Right, Jose?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So remember I said 40% of your revenue is going to come from paid ads, 60% of your acquisition is going to come from organic. And it's not going to all come, 60% is not going to all come from cold email, right? There's still more things you have to do as far as organic is concerned. Every single day, can you send messages out on your Facebook and Instagram and add people in the industry and start putting content out, creating your lighthouse. So that's one channel. You have cold email running, right? And then you have an industry channel where you go into the place of where they reside. Facebook group for that example, LinkedIn for that example, a BNI, like wherever you think your industry is hanging out, you should have a niche specific channel or pocket. I called it a pocket, right? Identifying the pockets, right? So if you have those three running, right, what kind of activities should happen? Like, I mean, you should be able to get to easily 2 to 3 qualified leads a day between all those channels. You're gonna have, I promise you, you're gonna have 6, 7 leads. They're all trash. And it's not about that, right? It's about sticking it out with the momentum. It's about continuing to conversate. It's about consistently building this plate of movement, right? And eventually then boom, like 3-4 clients will close in 1 week and you're going to surprise you. I promise you, today's February, end of March, some of you that are on this call will come back and tell me, dude, whatever the heck you said in that call, what it is happening right now. I don't know what to do to onboard. Do you have any material on onboarding? I promise you, you'll ask me that. Right? And I'm not prophesying. It depends on how much work you put in, but I'm just telling you, this is the trajectory of every agency I've ever built, every big program that I've ever been part of. We all experience this cycle of building the momentum, okay? This is a very difficult phase because this is where doubt happens. This is where you're so close to the treasure and you quit. This is where you change up the offers, you quit on an industry. This is where people build traditional agencies versus niche specific agencies because they quit too early, go try something else, and all of a sudden they're like this umbrella of a ton of things, right? So pillar 1 is the activities. If you don't have the volume there, focus on the volume. Don't worry about the effectiveness of the thing. Focus on just getting it launched. You'll worry about the messaging, the offer clarity, all that as the second phase of every single channel, right? Get the channels up and going, whatever needs to happen, right? If you need to, I told one of my friends the other day, he was like, Paulson, I don't, well, not really a friend. He was somebody that I had met online and we've seen each other in masterminds and stuff. But he's like, dude, I don't have, $2,000-$3,000 to get all these VAs and this prospecting system all set up and put in place. And I'm like, dude, go work a regular day job for a month and a half and come back. Like, there's nothing else I can tell you. Either you do the time or you pay for the time. Right? I rather pay for the time because I don't want to work on those activities that's too valuable for my time, right? Like, I just rather hire people out to just get those things done, right? So activities is the first pillar that you have to really focus in on building the momentum. The second thing is the focus. You have to operate like it's like dating, right? Like in the beginning, my wife will probably laugh at me when I say this. Hopefully she's not hearing me. You got to play hard to get as a business, right? Like you just cannot be desperate in any way, shape, or form when it comes to revenue. If you're struggling, have 0 clients, you cannot show it in your energy. It will show in the sales calls. When your offer changes and all of a sudden it's changing, it's like, oh man, let me just get you started. Like, they're like, well, I don't know. This is how you always start with people. Like, they're just going to get defensive, right? And that's because there's that trust factor that you have to be at, right? So don't become a hostage to the urgency of revenue, okay? One of the biggest mistakes that I've made in my whole life is quitting my corporate career and jumping into the agency without knowing what I was jumping into. I came home and quit my career, didn't tell my wife for like a week that I was in a 2-week quitting period, right? That second Monday I told her, honey, I am not going back to healthcare. I've made my decision. That's it. Be all end all. Whatever happens, happens. I've talked to, a ton of coaches in this space and they're all crushing it. And they all sold me this $997, program, and I've consumed half of it. I'm gonna have a client. You know, three weeks max. I should have a client. Boy, was I in for a treat, right? So I won't recommend you jumping in just making drastic decisions. If you have that urgency of revenue, keep your job wherever you are as a freelancer, whatever you're doing. Keep the job, right? Don't take on projects in the marketing world for revenue. Just because you have the skill, don't go take on those projects. Because what happens? You distract yourself from your momentum that matters. Don't go providing high level services to another agency or a freelancer or somebody else. Because if you do that, you're going to take your focus away from the automotive industry you're serving. Right? You're slowly going to turn into a white label agency or a B2B agency that you may not have wanted, right? So it's really important that you just don't start doing things for the revenue, even if it's marketing driven, but really focusing on your offer, right? If like I learned Facebook ads, that was one of the first things that I did. I went through Tim Bird's course, Deepish Mandalia, I don't know, Cat Howell. I mean, everybody's course, and I got really good at Facebook ads. But I'm focused on dentistry. When other agencies or freelancers or anybody else or other industries ask me, can you run Facebook ads? It was tempting to say yes. But if I did say yes, I would lose focus on what is building my business, which is the dental space, right? And that's an easy way to lose focus. That's where pillar two can go sideways, okay? Mohammed, I just saw your hands raised. I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you pointed out the right direction. Whenever you're doing a business, so you will have to be focus oriented. Otherwise, it will be very difficult, in order to grow. Although it will take, I mean, definitely it would take time for everybody. Whenever he'll get started, there are so many things we'll have to figure out that one. Because most of the times, if you talk about every agency, whenever he will start that, most of the people get started as a solo person, like a single person running the whole agency. Now in that scenario, what I am facing at the moment, like I mean I get started like probably like 20 days back, the trial for go high level, and I go through with the fast track program, whatever you showed in that account, and go through with that and get the idea, and I also implement that one. I also put a question in the Facebook group. Might be possible that you get a chance to saw, like you was replying that one as well. But as far as like you explain in that, my question was that, like you mentioned in those videos, like it is just like you will have to go to the break even as soon as possible. Like get at least two clients, and you will be at break even, so that whatever the revenue you will get, that you can just pay for the subscription for go high level. But the challenge what I'm facing at the moment, like I am just doing even like 50 emails every day. I'm sending the 50 emails. It's a personalized emails. The same, like use a framework, whatever you explain in the fast track program. I use, actually, that was a outbound engineer approach, that you mentioned in that. So I just put that, and my niche is real estate agents. So I used to send that, and as far as the response, what I did not get any kind of response in
Yeah,
that. Like
50,
probably,
50
yeah,
emails is just not enough volume
yeah,
for
I
an
agree on
industry.
that one. Sorry
Yeah.
to cut you. I agree with that one, but I mean, as what exactly you mentioned, the fast track program, what I believe, like in order to reach the break even, you should just use that. And once you reach to the 5 client stage, you can just hire a VA who will actually do like mass cold approach, like 1,000 email or 500 email, which I'm definitely will like to implement that one. But my first goal is, because I always believe in small goals. Instead of putting higher goals, it's better to set small goals, so that you can able to achieve that, and it's basically achievable, and I'll be able to achieve that. But the reason is that, as far as this implementing the strategy, like, because my first goal is in actually to reach to the break even point, which is, to get 2 clients paying 297 per month each. But that is basically which I am implementing. That one I'm not able to, get any kind of response. Might be possible you like to put any, like feedback on that. I
Yeah,
mean,
what I can do is jump on a one-on-one call with you, and I'll go through your messaging, and that's probably going to serve you better. But your volume in the beginning has to be high. Not You cannot think in the mindset of, okay, let me break even, get two people, and let me just going. And if you're gonna do that, I would much rather do that with my lighthouse of personal branding, right? You'll probably will have more success getting your Facebook profiles or Instagram profiles, just sharing ideas and concepts and things like that to get those first couple of clients. It doesn't have to be from cold email. It can also be from the niche pockets, right? So cold email, I think should be launched. It's something that has to get done in most industries. But if you're trying to break even, you don't need to wait on cold email. You can do that with regular DMs. You can do that with organic marketing. You can do that with LinkedIn. You can do that with just talking to people, and just really start sharing. Personal branding matters a lot when it comes to this type of industry that you start off with, right? So I would say, it's the level of activities, and same thing happens. It's gonna go back to this thing. You're not gonna see results very quickly. It takes lot longer to get to 5 clients versus getting from 5 clients to 20 clients. It's much more of a harder swim to get to your first 2-3 clients versus scaling it to 10 clients. Because if you can get to 3-4 clients, guess what? Your offer is confirmed. Your messaging makes sense. Only thing you have to move is the volume of channels or paid ads, right? So that first initial entry into the market is a very difficult thing. You have to figure that out in your presentation, right? In how you move around it. But I'm happy to jump on a one-on-one with you and just go over that with you.
and how I can able to, go with that one-to-one call.
Yeah. You just go to speak with. You just go to
Okay.
speak with, and my name. So speak with /Paulson, and I'll go over that with you. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Because actually, that the reason is that, like today is 3rd of February, and the subscription will be charged that 497 on 7th of February. The only thing, like I was trying, like pushing, it's almost like working for almost, I can say, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I'm consistently, like sending emails and that kind of stuff to get anyone who is interested, who can respond back to me, so that I can able to hop on a call, but no one is actually responding that. That's
Yeah, I mean
basically the
it's
thing.
because how many real estate agents are in the U.S.? Over 1.2 million,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
even if you sent out 50 emails a day, that's still in an entire month less than 1,000, right?
Mhm.
Right? And that's what you should have output per day in my recommendation, right? When it comes to that channel, right? So if you don't have other channels, so like really your pillar is formulating and understanding what is the right level of volume, right? The activities. And then you can worry about the focus, like is this, how do I level up the offer? How do I do this the right way, right? And the third pillar that I'm sharing with everyone is consistency. Like consistency does matter. This is where Curtis was talking about or nodding earlier when I said when you have onboardings, it's a slippery slope because you will lose focus on your sales. You have to go back and focus on sales, knowing that if you close more deals, you can bring in the people that can provide the service, right? And that's the way you solve that problem. Most people, what do? They take their foot off the gas on sales and go deliver this amazing service and turn into an account manager instead of remaining a closer, right? And that's a trap. That's the normal trap that happens. So guess what? Like you don't get to those 5 clients. It'll take sometimes a year and a half to get to 5 clients, right? Because the focus is not in the right places. The wrong activities are happening. So really the momentum formula, guys, ultimately is going to come down to this. It's volume of activities in the industry. Like if I say 1,000 emails, 20 DMs, 50 Facebook messages. That is just irrelevant depending on what industry you're serving in. Like some of your industries may require less. Like if you are working with, like Roger in fly fishing, there's probably not a lot of marketers there. He can probably climb the volume of activities with minimal amount of work. This is where you focus in on unsaturated industries versus saturated industries, right? Like when I was in dental, the amount of prospecting we had to do in dental versus what I did in automotive was so astounding. Like I felt like automotive was just so easy. Like if I send out 100 messages, 4 people will reply. And so you have to decide which industry do you want to go into and the right volume of activities there. Then the second thing is the offer focus, right? First, get clear on the offer and the industry, and I say at least commit several months to an industry without changing it. And what I mean by that is not even a sub niche. Don't switch from orthodontist to the general guy to the other guy. Like just go all in on the messaging that's there, right? And then the repetitive consistency. This is the same formula, guys, for a $300,000-$400,000 a month agency. Nothing changes here. Versus you trying to get your first client, it's the same level of measurement. Volume activities, guess what? An agency at those levels, they may have 15, 16 channels in different markets, maybe European market, Australian, the US, Canadian market. They just have a bigger market share they're going after. They're running ads on 5 different platforms. TikTok is a big one right now. Everybody's running TikTok ads. Not that anybody's converting from all those ads, but people are testing it out, right? So they're consistently leveling up on how creative they get with their messages, right? The offer focus. The bigger the agencies, the more offers they will have, right? As they have more offers, guess what? Your messaging would have to change. The different teams would have to change. Your sales process would have to change, right? The consistency is the same exact thing. You as a leader, you would have to figure out how to create consistency from other people versus yourself. Today, it's easy. You know why? As an entrepreneur, you control your effort. You make the decision of picking up that freaking phone call and answering. Like, that's on you. But when you have a team, guess what? You have to encourage them. You have to make sure they're excited. You have to make sure they're enthusiastic. You have to understand that they have certain goals. They have aspirations. You have to see if they fit into your team. See if they match the culture. There's a lot of different movements as you get bigger, right? But in the beginning, as a one-man show or maybe a small team of maybe 2-3 people, it's so much easier to change up your messaging and formulas and offers and test out different channels. But this is the same formula that works for multi-million-dollar agencies versus a freelancer. It's the same thing. Okay.
Hey, Paulson,
Yeah, go ahead.
could I throw something in for Mohammed? He's in the real estate niche.
Yeah, he's in
That
real
it?
estate.
Yeah, this goes back 20 years ago. I developed software for the real estate industry, and it was so that they could. This is all old hat now, but back then it was cutting edge. But it was, so they could show their listings on the website and so forth. And what I found is working with and put hundreds of hours in this thing and had it going for quite a while, both on a brokerage and an agent level. But what I found out is that real estate agents really don't care too much. And this is probably across the board for almost any industry. They don't care too much about technology. I mean, all they care about is, just like everything else, leads. So if you can offer a solution to them that is, how am I going to get more buyers, or how am I going to get more sellers using whatever you have to offer, whether it's done for you or SaaS or whatever, that's what they're looking for. Simple, easy, press the button, I get more leads. And real estate agents are very fickle, I found out. It's hard to get them to focus. They're all over the board. Half of them don't have a lot of business experience because it's so easy to get a real estate license, and earn $100,000 a year. But anyway, it's a tough market. But if you can give them a simple, easy button solution, then you'll have the message for them. But don't try to sell them tools, because I know from building out this software that they don't use them. It's very hard to get them to use them. So just my 2 cents from being in that industry for many years, and maybe that'll be helpful to you on your messaging.
Yeah, definitely, Roger. I think every industry is different. Every industry sucks, guys.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. There's something
Yeah.
wrong with every industry. I promise you. You're gonna have to pick and choose your poison. Like, every even the unsaturated industries like an interior design, right? Where I'm just trying to get people in for like a studio. Guess what? They don't know much about marketing. They know more about branding than versus actual marketing. They care about their freaking colors on the website versus if anybody actually went to the website, right? It's like there's gonna be something wrong with every industry. I promise you, it is not a reason to switch industries. There is somebody making money in every industry.
That's not true, actually. I challenge Paulson. I challenge you. Aside from Alex Hormozy, there's no one making more than like $30K a month in gyms.
Oh no, not at all, bro. I know way too many agencies that are crushing the gym space.
Really?
Oh yeah, like I can think of 10 right now. If you reach out to David Patcham, he does like 60 or something clients. If you reach out to I'll send you a list of names. I don't want to put people's business on blast, but
Sure.
I can. There's plenty of people that are crushing it in the gym space. Now,
Wow.
how do they crush it? Their offers are significant. It makes sense to them. You know what's a good thing about saturated industries? You don't have to teach them a lot of marketing. They're already getting hammered on marketing education. Like they know they need to do something about it, right? So the good thing is your sales cycles are typically shorter versus if you go into an unsaturated space where your sales cycle, by the time they become a qualified buyer, it'll be 4 months. It'll be 5 months, by the time they figure that out. So, but Brad, I can think of tons of agencies that are crushing it. Now their offers are all different across each other. It's not the same. But yeah, I mean, yeah, way too many people real estate too. There's way too many people. If you look at Samantha May, I think she's doing like 80 grand a month, right? If you look at Peter Michael with Ross Media, he does well over 6 figures a month. I mean, there's at least one person in every industry crushing it, even if there is not a big mammoth of a list like a lot of those big industries, right? Like Jeff Miller, he was on the call yesterday. He just launched into the dental space, right? His offer is really simple. Don't pay me anything. I'll get you 5 patients. Then we can talk. I just want to earn my business. So they all go on a trial. Then they close after the experience. They get the trust and and all that after the onboarding already started. And then 2 weeks in, they're getting pay-per call or transfer or whatever he does, right? But he's just removing that sales barrier up front by saying, hey, let me just get you the results because that industry is that saturated, right? But overall, guys, I hope today's conversation is a conversation of reassurance and it's not a struggle that you might be facing by yourself. This is a common thing. The bar graph goes across for several weeks and months and then boom, like 3 deals close in one day and you don't even know why. That's usually what happens. And I'm not trying to give you false hope. If you do the right activities, the right offer, don't change it up too many different times, and you're pretty close to what it is. It can definitely get you some results. Let's see, guys. If you want to unmute yourself, Curtis, go ahead, buddy. If you want to unmute yourself and ask some questions, let's go over it. It's time for open discussion. I'll stay an extra few minutes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Hey, when did you make the call to switch into one niche? Because at the moment, I'm in a few. I've got e-com, pest control, chiropractors, coaches, and they're all now starting to say, "Hey, I didn't enter the space as a marketer. I came in as an operations officer from the army type angle. So all of my stuff was with the onboarding was let's automate your entire business as much as possible. But now they're saying, okay, now we did review campaigns. Now they're on the front page of Google. They now want ads. And I'm like, I know that it would detract away from focus if I'm doing that for coaches, doing that for chiros, doing that for pest control. How do you make the decision to sort of go into one if they're all asking for the same thing?
Yeah, so I never actually ever switched a niche. I was very decisive in what I did. So 2000, my background was in healthcare. So for me, when I looked at dentistry, med spa, and chiros. When I saw every marketing coach show examples of chiros in every program, I knew that every marketing student was gonna somehow go into chiro. I just didn't want to go into that industry, and that's literally what happened over the years. Like everybody had chiro examples in every course. The second thing was med spa. At the time when I'm entering this agency world, it's like 2013. Med spa was very much not proven as a healthcare industry. Like people were unsure of the effectiveness of Botox and all these different things, and feds, like things weren't regulated. So it was like a wild, wild west, right? And then dentistry, I just felt like it was a need for patients. You just couldn't get away from not ever going to the dentist at one point. So I felt like dentists are not going to ever close their doors, right? So because of that stability, I said, you know what? That's an outpatient business. I understand medical enough to go learn that. So what I did was I reached out to almost like 3-4 different agencies that I knew in the dental space. And I said, hey, Curtis, can I give you a client? And I just want to watch how you move through this client. So I would reach out and provide a client to freelancers that would crush the results for me. And I didn't have to do any fulfillment because remember, I'm not the techie. I needed somebody to do this anyway, but I'm paying them the full retainer or half the retainer. So then after a while, I started doing half the retainer, and I'm watching all these freelancers crushing it for me, and I'm just focused on conversations, right? And that's the way I learned all the way until 2016. Then at that point, I had like a small virtual team. 2018, I jumped on board with High Level. I let go of my dental agency. 2020, I had one of my business partners from Toronto, old friend, that reached out and said, hey, I want to start an agency in automotive. And that was like a third start. It wasn't a switch from another agency.
So really, do you find just whatever's flowing? Because at the moment, one of the chiros that I have just, they've opened up 8 practices with me now, and they want 5 locations with ads. So that for me is the biggest client at the moment. Do you just naturally go with whatever's flowing with the most revenue coming through from all of them?
No. You need to look at what costs you the most labor to deliver.
Well, at the moment, it'd be anything with marketing services, because I went initially with just basic SaaS, the DAR approach with Prolific. And that's the one question was, do you know anyone just crushing it without marketing services? Because for me, especially, all of the home service-based businesses in Australia need basic SaaS. The one thing that I've come across is they need then integrations with their field management software, which is then a really big choke point. So I know you have to niche down with one. But I was just curious if you're not selling marketing services, can you go horizontal with basic SaaS?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. So you're in a tough situation though, because you're probably first to the market, right? So like the Australian market is not, served enough like we are in the US, right? Same thing with Europe, parts of European market. The South African market is very similar, like there are just not enough good service providers, right? So you can capitalize on running a traditional agency much more than we can in the US with the niche specific agency. But you got to tread lightly on your packages. You got to tread lightly on what are the boxes and boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with you being not so niched, if that makes sense. And I say this lightly because opportunity is too big there for you to ignore it. Like you should be able to do high ticket, if anything, and say, you know what, 1,000 Aussie dollars or whatever, or 2,000 for that
2,000.
matter, it makes sense for you to deliver. But the account management in those markets are very different than account management here, right? Because the account management there forces you to spend a lot of consulting time, right?
Heaps. That was the
We,
one thing you said before, and I was nodding my head. Like it to
yeah,
on to on. I got it down now to a basic SaaS is a one call onboarding session, which is fine. But if you're going into the nitty gritty of the pipelines and opportunities and workflows, that was an additional call plus a full 50 video help library that I in the membership area that I created to teach them to how to freaking use everything. It was insane. It was
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
work. That's why I'm like, nah, I've got to cut it. I've got to go back to basic tasks. I've got to go back to something that's easy.
Yeah, the same thing happens in other markets like the South African market. Most businesses are underserved and they're like, "Oh, what is automation? How does this work? Like
Yeah.
what is a database? Like I don't understand what that's for. I have a ledger book of people that walked in on a physical paper signed. I mean, that's the extent of the technology. So your account management is a lot different than us in the US. Our account management is like, hey Brad, this is what's happening. Reports, text messages go out, one email goes out, and sometimes we don't even have to jump on a call. And because U.S. business owners are typically a bit more savvy, although unorganized and unsuccessful, they're more savvy on
Yes.
what is needed for them, right? For you, there's a lot of education pressure there. So your packages shouldn't be too big or customized. I would still pick an industry and go all in on the industry. There is a business. There's a brand there called I forgot his name. The brand is called Practice Accelerator.
Yes, with Tristan.
Yeah, Tristan and Sarah.
Tristan.
Sarah, right?
Yeah,
They
they're
they
killing it.
do a pretty good job of organic marketing through their events,
Yeah.
right? And phenomenal on running DBRs, phenomenal on helping prove a lot of like
Yeah.
early wins in their delivery, right?
They don't use high
They,
level today.
they do. Are you asking if
Yeah.
they do?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Thought so.
But I
Yeah.
think it's a white label version from somebody else. I
Yeah.
don't think it's direct through us. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he does deliver the same services at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But that's somebody that I would pay attention to because that market is very different than ours.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the one thing where I saw him with all the Kairos. I was like, well, don't want to go into competition with him already in a market like that. If I
He's in physical therapy, I think, more than Kairos.
yeah.
Yeah. He's a big PT guy, hundreds and hundreds of PTs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but incredible business guy. But yeah, man, this is where the things that I'm sharing and helping you guys understand it. Everything is not going to apply to you directly. You got to take what I'm giving you, make it your own, look at it with a grain of salt, and see if it applies to you, right? And then make the changes as you go. The let's see, Jose, I believe was the next person.
Yeah. Hey, Paulson. My thing was just basically I had spoken with you last week, and you said to send you over via Facebook Messenger the offer, and I sent it to you, and I just wanted to when you get a chance, if you can just kind of look at it. And let me know
Okay.
your
And
thoughts.
you send it to me on Facebook, you said?
Yeah, Messenger, I think.
Okay. I'll go through it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. That's all I
Okay.
got.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Guys, focus on the activities today. You may or may not see results right away, right? And that's okay. But few months down the line, few weeks away, there is a shift that will happen in your mind. I promise you. There will be a shift that happens in your mind when you start seeing few clients jump in and you're like, I don't even know how this happened. And I'm looking forward to you guys experiencing it. It's very common in the agency world. And if you get a chance to read a book called Slight Edge, read that book. It's really about focusing on 80% of what matters and really taking away the 20% of what doesn't matter, right? And Slight Edge is it's the idea of being consistent across the board with the same type of thing, because at some point you'll see the result that you were hoping for. It just doesn't happen, right? And it's very much a game. It really is very much a game. Okay. But have a good rest of your afternoon, guys. I'm excited for you. Thanks for jumping in. We're working on setting up a ton of automation, so a lot of reminders go out for a lot of these training sessions and things like that. And I look forward to it. Pretty soon, we'll have the big event with Rob Bailey that we're gonna do in the middle of February, and we're going to teach you guys how to do high ticket SaaS for those of you that are interested. It's going to be the same level as what we did with Joel Kaplan last year, and we're going to do those more often, almost every single month moving forward. Okay, so exciting stuff. Stay in touch. All of you that message me, I'll provide you some feedback here shortly on anything that you're waiting on me for. Okay, have a good rest of your afternoon. Take care.